1 week into the new presidential race, Donald Trump and his allies are still struggling to find a coherent counterpunch that works against Vice President Harris, one that isn't racist or sexist or otherwise alienating to the voters they're going to need in November. But that conundrum hasn't stopped Trump from trying a few things out in his first campaign event since President Biden dropped out of the race. Take a listen.
She was a bum 3 weeks ago. She was a bum. A failed vice president and a failed administration. So now we have a new candidate to defeat the most incompetent, unpopular, and far-left vice president in American history. She's a radical left lunatic. She has no clue. She has no clue. She's evil.
Joining us now, former Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence and CNBC contributor Marc Short. Marc, welcome.
Thanks, Alex.
It's kind of like Trump is throwing the kitchen sink at Harris, right? Is there a risk making those insults personal? Those four that we just heard are certainly personal, as opposed to keeping the criticism to policy differences?
Well, I think he obviously should keep it to policy differences, but I think Donald Trump's been doing that for 8 years on the political scene of making personal attacks, and so I wouldn't expect to change. I think there's no doubt that Vice President Harris's rise, in large part, is because a lot of America was unsatisfied with the two choices of Biden and Trump, and she's benefiting from that. And so I think Donald Trump should be focused on the policies and try to tie her as much as he can to the failed Biden administration policies. But I'm not sure it's going to stick, because I think so many Americans wanted something fresh and something new. And even though she's been vice president, this elevation gives her that opportunity to reintroduce herself to the American people.
Why do you think they're struggling to focus their attacks on her record? Are they not familiar with it? Have they not done their due diligence?
I think that they are focused somewhat on her record, Alex. I just don't think they're as singularly focused as they should be. In other words, I think there's been plenty of attacks about her record and also about the Biden administration. It's that there's probably a lack of discipline to stay focused on that, and it also moves into personal attacks. But as I said, I think that that's been a hallmark for the last 8 years, and so I wouldn't expect that to be different this go round.
Yeah, makes sense. So this weekend, and this was something, Trump said this to an audience of Christians at the Believers Summit in West Palm Beach. I'm sure you know what's coming. Let's take a listen.
Yeah.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians.
What is he saying?
Well, I think, unfortunately, he's often viewed all Christians somewhat monolithically, but I think there's also the notion that he's just really interested in what this election holds and less concerned about what the future holds on many policy battles for evangelicals. And so I think his focus is just going to be now, whereas I think that for many of us, we realize that we're citizens in this world, but there's a future kingdom to come, and we want to try to fight for that in the future.
What about this? Because we heard Trump return to his familiar excuse as the lead that he held against Biden is shrinking against Harris. Here's that.
We're going to have a landslide because it's going to be too big to rig. You know what too big to rig is? If they don't cheat, we win this state easily, okay? They cheat. They have no shame. They cheat. Do you understand that, you crooked people? They're the most crooked. They cheat. They cheated in the last election, and they're going to cheat in this election, but we're going to get them.
So there are 99 days to go. Why do you think Trump is laying the groundwork for a possible loss?
Well, let's not forget he did the same in 2020 and even in 2016. I think that we've seen a dramatic shift in the last 8 days since Joe Biden announced he was stepping aside. A lot of what Donald Trump does at these rallies is entertainment, but unfortunately, I think that there's been too much sowing of distrust from both sides into our election results, and obviously we should be looking to accept the results of the American people voting.
Okay, more to come, that's for sure. Marc Short, many thanks.
Alex.